Hey everyone, welcome back to another Godzilla battling video, and today we are looking at my Ultima deck. So, looked at the deck playlist video, saw one for Biollante, saw one for all the Godzillas, saw one for Kiryu, didn't see an Ultima one. So, you know what? Throwing my deck in here. This is the deck I've been using religiously for the last 2 months, and this deck has seen variation throughout the entire time I've been playing, but I've been using Ultima since day one of this game. Literally since day one. So, I know a thing or two about using them, so I will break down my deck, how I use it, and there's gameplay in the background if you want to check it out. So, the deck actually that I'm fighting in this is very similar to my own, except they're using Hetero. Regardless, let's break it down. So, Godzilla 89 leaders. Don't have to really explain this. One of the best leaders in the game, very beefy, and the ability to give all your units a 50% attack boost for 15 seconds. Monumental, and that only works for units that are, I believe, 5 cost or higher, so that will affect in this deck Batra, Super X, and Ultima, because Ultima is 6, and then Batra and the Super X is 5, Batra Larva is 4. Next, Manila. A lot of people have been dropping Manila from their rosters. That's understandable. Manila works really well in this deck. The whole point of this deck, on the title you can see, is Keep Away. So what I like to do with this deck is power up, Manila, Ultima, and Super X to make sure that the enemy units don't really get close to mine. If I can keep the enemy as far away as humanly possible from my units and take them down before they reach me, I can make a very strong push. So Manila, very long range. His range is comparable to the Super X and Ultima. So having him do a little bit of an extra slow on top of that, very good. I'm not really using him for his damage. Mine's level 30. He's doing like an okay amount of damage, but I'm really wanting him for that slow. And then Ultima is next right after Manila on this list. Obviously, he's the main DPS in this deck. He's one of the best single target damage dealers in the game, especially because of his range. You can see right here against this Batra, melting them, right? And it doesn't help them that mine is level 13, but there are higher ones in the game. Yours can even be level 5 or 6, doesn't matter. This deck will work fine with them. Psychic Chorus, you would be insane not to run Psychic Chorus in your deck anyway. I was running Sunday in the season before Chorus was buffed, but since Chorus was buffed, I threw that in there. Get the heal in. Biollante is going to get up close with a lot of characters. You can see it on the screen now. So putting a Sunday down, not Sunday, the Psychic Chorus, putting Psychic Chorus down on Biollante is great, and a lot of my range units, the way I play, a lot of them are really grouped up together, so using Psychic Chorus to keep them alive is really good. On the screen, it's not the best use of it. As you can see, my team just gets rinsed right there. But you know how to use Psychic Chorus. I don't gotta explain that to you guys. It's keeping your units alive. One of the best heals in the game right now. Biollante, like I said, Biollante is really your up close and personal wall. Not very tanky, but very good AoE, especially in the water, like on this map. So Biollante is just a force to be reckoned with in general. Putting them on your team is going to force your opponents to kind of go for them, as well as them being a really good distraction. Batra as well. Don't really have to explain Batra's scenario on this team. Gives the 30% buff to anyone in their vicinity, which is amazing. Oh, and you can see right here, pretty good use of Psychic Chorus. Got that Biollante down. I'm able to take down the leader. And then there's the G89's Heat Ray to give myself the extra damage to actually take this leader down. But Batra is going to be able to buff up my team when G89 can't, and when Batra can't, my G89 can. So that's really what Batra's there for, to pump up the damage. And I especially am trying to buff Ultima and Super X, because those are doing probably some of the most damage outside of Biollante. But if Biollante is in water, I don't want to give her the Batra buff, because then it's going to cancel out the 80% in the water, and I want to retain that 80%. Next is Super X. Super X can stand so far away from all the opponents. You can put it anywhere on the field, and it's just going to cross-map everything. This is really good in tandem with Ultima. 2 amazing sniper units, sniping away, plonk in the other team, taking them down. You can hit so many units from so far and kill so many units before they even get to you with these 2. And then the final spot in my deck always is reserved as a flex pick. Right now I'm using Kamacuras. Mine are low, they're at level 20, but I'm using them right now for some achievements and challenges. However, they are actually working extremely well. So I've been using them to body block Terrestris for like a Caesar comes, or I've been seeing a lot of Leos lately, so Leo comes, or G89, they're really good at stopping them. Any kind of single target attacker that's going to go for my Terrestris, I'll put them next to Terrestris or behind him or in front of them, so that way they swarm around him, and maybe my Terrestris will survive an extra few shots. Outside of Kamacuras, other units that are actually pretty decent in this spot, Caesar is really, really good. King Caesar is 4 costs, so 2 more costs than the Kamacuras. And, you know, great for taking down pre-evolutions, great for doing a ton of damage, great for keeping Terrestrius safe. He's something that I use regularly. I took him out for the Kamacuras. Freezing Sunday, also extremely good. Freezing Sunday, you can stop units and stuff like that. So basically doing the same thing Kamacuras does. Kamacuras is body blocking, Sunday is stopping down units. Another unit, or another 2 units that I like in this deck, but not really required. Mega Gearus, very solid pick for the flex in this deck. That slow on defense is really solid, especially because you don't really have a lot of close DPS, right? All of this deck is pretty much focused on long-range fighting, so having something to get up close and personal like Mega Gearus with that slow, extremely, extremely helpful. And Hedera also very solid. If you don't have a high Biolante, you want to use Hedera, you can use Hedera in place of Biolante, or you can use Hedera on its own in the flex pick, but then you have Biolante, Hedera, Batra, and Terrestrius that are all evolutions, and that's going to be a hard time. The biggest counter to this deck, and I'll just tell you straight up, is making sure that Ultima cannot evolve. You can ask anyone that's a regular in my Discord or on my stream. The main reason I lose in fixed battles or any kind of battle on stream is because they know to go after my Terrestrius, my Ultima. If you see a deck like this running and then Ultima is placed on the ground, you have to neuter that Ultima. If that Terrestrius cannot evolve, you will be able to run this deck over. You know, Biolante's good, can attack air. Batra is really good, but on its own it's going to get rinsed through. Manila's not very powerful on his own. Kamacuras aren't very powerful on their own. Super X is going to die in like a hit or 2. Ultima is extremely tanky with incredible range and incredible damage. So making sure that he never appears on the board almost will guarantee you a win, right? So if you're using this deck, you just have to be aware of where your Terrestrius is at all times because you want it to evolve. You have to be protecting that Terrestrius. This deck has 2 battle stages. As in my mind, there's 2 different phases of the battle. The first phase of the battle is the first minute of the game for me. In the very first minute of the game, my goal is to evolve Terrestrius. If I cannot get Terrestrius to evolve in the first minute and a half of the game, I'm playing strictly defense. I will get Biolante and Batra up as fast as possible. I will play strictly defense, and I will wait for a very big push from the other team. Then when I have a decent amount of units on the board and they come at me really close, then I drop Terrestrius in the middle of a big team fight. That way he can sit from behind and take his time taking shots down, and he will be super helpful. But I definitely don't want my Terrestrius to be caught out, like, you know, out of pocket, off guard, whatever, because that's going to absolutely ruin you. This deck that I was faced with this team, you know, they placed 2 evolution units down. That was my signal. Hey, that's a ton of energy they just dumped. I gotta put down Terrestrius. That's gonna take them a second to recover it. There's my Kamacuras and Manila versus theirs. It bought me enough time to get that Ultima up. And honestly, my Ultima probably would have survived that encounter regardless. And by the time that Super X is up, my Ultima would have evolved. So you really have to be looking at where your opponent's energy is at. If they drop 2 evolution units, you know, Bio and Batra, that's 7 energy. You can drop an Ultima, and they're going to have to counter with something smaller for that. And Ultima's probably, or Terrestrius is probably going to run through it, right? So really important you pay attention to where that's at. But in any case, that is my Ultima deck. That is how I use it. That is how I picture, you know, my time on the field. And honestly, it just gets me a ton of wins. I know Ultima isn't exactly meta these days, but he's always been one of the best damage units in the game. It's just how you use him. He's not a plug and play. You got to kind of build around him. And in my opinion, this is one of the better Ultima decks because I've just had, you know, 7 months to perfect it. But that's all I got for you today. Thank you all so much for watching. I will catch you all on the next one. Bye-bye.